everyone. I welcome you all to today's topic Decodified session. Today, we are going to talk about Chinese military drills over Taiwan, which it is doing in retaliation to recent developments. So, we shall be looking at this news in the following sequence. First of all, the news itself, why it is in news. Then the China-Taiwan tensions, followed by the prelims and means-based practice questions for you all. Before we go ahead and start understanding about the China and Taiwan tensions, let me inform you about the Polity and Ethics Foundation Course 2023, which is going to begin on 18th and 29th of August. Both the subjects are going to be taught by Nitin Shivhare sir of Analyst IAS. You can inquire more regarding the courses on this particular number, and I would ask you to hurry up because the seats are very limited. Now, let's begin with our discussion. So, China has announced more military drills around Taiwan as the island's president has met with US delegates. And, in fact, it is threatening to renew tensions between Beijing and Washington, that is US, after a similar recent visit that happened by the US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and now the US is even more engaging with Taiwan at formal level since the Taiwanese president is meeting with more and more US delegates. So Pelosi, she was the highest level member of US government so far to visit Taiwan in past 25 years, and her trip prompted nearly 2 weeks of threatening military exercises by China over Taiwan, which actually claims the Taiwanese island country as its own. In those drills by China, Beijing fired missiles over the island and into the Taiwan Strait and sent warplanes and navy ships across the waterways midline, which has long been a buffer between the sides that split amid civil war in 1949. So this is the Taiwan Strait. Here is Taiwan and this is the mainland China. China accuses the US for encouraging the island's independence through the sale of weapons to the island and engagement between US politicians and the Taiwanese government. Washington, however, says that it does not support the independence of the island nation and has no formal diplomatic ties with the island, and also maintains that the two sides should settle their dispute peacefully. So, the backdrop of Taiwan and Chinese tensions goes as follows. Here is first of all Taiwanese flag and this one is Chinese flag. So Taiwan in fact was earlier known as Formosa Island, which was a tiny island off the east coast of China. It was administered by then Imperial Qing dynasty but its control passed to the Japanese in 1895. After the defeat of Japan in World War II, the island nation got passed back into Chinese hands. It was then that Chinese Republicans of the Kuomintang government retreated after 1949 victory of the communists, and it has since continued as the Republic of China. So Taiwanese government calls itself Republic of China. China, however, has never recognized the existence of Taiwan as an independent political entity and argues that it was always a Chinese province and is still a Chinese province that just has certain autonomies of its own. As far as the Taiwan stand with regards to this matter is concerned, Taiwan sees itself as a de jure sovereign state, but it is largely unrecognized by other countries. Only 21 countries throughout the world recognize Taiwan as an independent country, because recognition of Taiwan by any country as an independent nation costs them diplomatic ties with China. China does not maintain the diplomatic ties with any such country which recognizes Taiwan as an independent nation. In fact, it is a prerequisite for maintaining diplomatic ties with China that a country has to agree with one China policy. So Taiwan says that modern Chinese state was only formed after the revolution of 1911 and it was not a part of that state at that time or of the People's Republic of China that was established after the Communist Revolution. It was anyways not part of the Chinese mainland since, in fact, even before 1911. Now, as far as the China-Taiwan ties are concerned, the political tensions continue, but China and Taiwan have had economic ties. Many migrants from Taiwan work in China, and China has also a lot of investment in Taiwan. Mainland China is Taiwan's largest trading partner, and not just a trading partner, China has trade deficit with Taiwan each year of around 80 billion to 130 billion dollars. So how did the current round of tensions began? So the current round of tensions between China and Taiwan began in 2021, last year, when China observed its National Day to mark the birth of People's Republic of China. This day coincided with the 72nd anniversary celebrations. China flew over 100 fighter jets into the Taiwan's air defense identification zone, which actually created a havoc and panic in the Taiwanese territory. And the world was alarmed that China probably was preparing to take over the island of Taiwan by force. And thereafter, in 2022, early 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which was being supported by China, even after it was having a lot of global criticism for doing so, these things also intensify the fear that even China would look forward to invading the island nation by force and acquiring it. And these tensions have been going around the world right since when Russia and Ukraine got into this aggressive tussle. Now, what is Indian stand with regards to this whole scenario? While India has followed one China policy since 1949 itself, now since 2010, India does not seem to say anything about one China policy because China has turned out to be an adversary to India and in fact had backstabbed India in the face of Panchsheel agreement way back. So, while in 1949, India said that it was going to follow one China policy, indicating that it does not recognize any government other than People's Republic of China in Beijing and will only conduct trade and cultural ties with Taiwan. Today, India seeks to avoid controversy on sensitive issue between US and China, and also given that India, unlike other nations in the region, does not refer to one China policy at all since 2010, as I've told you already. So India chooses to be an observer to the turn of events. It maintains a studied silence on the unfolding situation and actually escapes or avoids or omits any mention of something like one China policy. India does not anymore endorses any kind of one China policy. Reason being that China had become an adversary to India way back. So India and China do not share the trust factor. In fact, there is trust deficit as far as the security point of view is there between India and China. But what is this one China principle that China moots? So the one China principle affirms Chinese sovereignty over Taiwan and is the cornerstone of bilateral diplomatic relations between US and China. So any country that wants to establish political and diplomatic relations with China, as I've already told you, must agree that it has to adhere with this principle and is not going to recognize Taiwan as an independent country, and thus is not going to hold any diplomatic or bilateral ties with Taiwan other than cultural and economic. So no administrative political ties. Currently, however, 21 states recognize Taiwan as a sovereign country. I have already given you this information as well. In practice, One China principle is a stabilization mechanism that preserves the status quo over Taiwan's political status while allowing it to function as an independent economic, civic and administrative entity. So, political engagements and in fact, engagement between the administrations of the two countries is also not desirable by China between Taiwan and any other nation. Since 1979, Taiwan itself has had to negotiate its international living space, and it has to largely honor One China policy itself as well. So, we can't say much about the sovereignty of our country when it itself is going for the recognition of One China principle to carry on with the economic benefits it is deriving out of the mainland China. So this is all about the current scenario and the backdrop of China and Taiwan story. And now let's look at the prelims practice question. So which strait is known as the Formosa Strait? Your options are A. Luzon Strait, B. Strait of Gibraltar, C. Bering Strait, and D. Taiwan Strait. So yes, your answer is D. Taiwan Strait, because Taiwan itself was earlier known as Formosa Island. So the strait was known as Formosa Strait. Now that the island nation is known as Taiwan, we have also located on the map initially in this particular session the Taiwan Strait, it is known as right now. Time for the mains practice question. Taiwan is facing a threat from China. In the light of this statement, examine India's position in China-Taiwan tensions. You will answer this particular question in 150 words and send in your answers to us on WhatsApp to get them reviewed. This is it for today. I shall see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care, stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining in.